A little electro space. You know, for you, my friend.
I love it.
Yeah. Feels kind of hip. Feels kind of hip. Who says hip?
It's we remix it over some Expanse stuff.
Yeah. I want to say hello to folks who are tuning in to ThursdAGE. ThursdAGE is a little weekly program that we put together, powered by the Adventure Game Engine, which of course is our, Green Ronin's proprietary engine for only the best TTRPGs. And on this program, we have only the best guests. I'm Disembodied Troy, and hey, RC, good to see you. And the gentleman we're going to talk to today, let's see, phenomenal pro GM, accomplished streamer, a published TTRPG developer, a writer, a man that once saved an entire busload of Canadian children from an onslaught of moose.
True. That did happen one time.
Morgan, good to see you. That did happen. And, of course, the person that I'm talking about is none other than our buddy, Meric.
That's
hello.
Me. Hello.
How are you, my friend? Let me just fade out this music. It's good. I feel like we could probably talk over it the entire time, but hey. So here's what we're doing today, Meric. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, a lot of stuff going on in the world of streaming. Now, first, tell folks you're also from Skyhammer Press, and that's sort of the entity that runs HELLBREAKERS, which is your Expanse actual play.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it.
Tell it all about HELLBREAKERS, all about Skyhammer Press.
Let's do both. Yeah, let's talk about both.
Cool. I'll start with Skyhammer Press. I mean, it was just like a fun, as it always is, in joke with a D&D group where we had an airship called the Skyhammer Kitten.
Okay.
And that became what I wanted to publish things under. So, when I'm freelancing and so on, I say it's by Skyhammer Press, and the socials are Skyhammer Press and all of that.
Yeah.
But how we really got started was with a show called Massive Damage Adventures, which was our podcast.
Right.
I just decided, I have so many pen and paper RPGs and so many ideas that I want to play more of them, and I need to organize to do that. So I pitched it to like maybe a dozen friends at first, and I said, hey, I'm thinking one shot a month with a potluck, and we're all going to have a great time. And I've lined up 12 games, and you can sign up for the ones you want to play, and we'll figure it out.
Nice.
And we got in, and we went to play the first game, and I popped a mic down on the table, and I'm like, is it cool with people if I record it? I might make a podcast.
And we were there. Everybody was cool with it.
Yeah, and everybody was cool with it. And I got like a year and a half worth of content before I started putting anything out. And then we had...
That's brilliant. That's super smart.
And then we had 5 seasons of that. That kind of grew into streaming because I found that, I was doing a lot of audio editing, and I was like, this isn't as fun sitting here for hours on time, cutting out people's ums and ahs. Let's do some live streaming and do some of that. And played with it for a bit, and did a couple of shows. We started with a superhero one using the Cypher system. We did next, I think, was Shadows and Starlight, which was a Star Trek one. Did a Cortex Prime one for Wheel of Time.
Cool.
Am I missing one? Not for live streams. Next one up was HELLBREAKERS. And, I'm a huge fan of The Expanse.
Yes.
As part of, I think it was season 3, maybe season 2 of Massive Damage Adventures, I got Ian onto the podcast and asked him all sorts of questions about the game when we were playing it. And that was really cool. Ian and I hit it off, and he was very kind and fun to
Great
work
guy.
with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely a great guy.
And then I immediately after the chat was like, "Hey, so if you need any writers for the Expanse RPG,
Right.
did you know I'm a professional writer?" Uh, which, yeah, in my day job, I'm a digital marketing manager and a creative writer for an engineering company.
I would tell you this, my friend. One of the highlights of my work with Green Ronin is being able to bounce ideas off of you and sort of talk about, sort of how are you using shorts and how are you going to, all of that stuff. You've got
Oh, thank you.
some great advice, and just it's nice to be able to kind of throw something at someone and have them go, that is not awful, or I
Or have you
appreciate
tried
that.
this? Maybe do
Yes,
this. Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Uh,
Stan says you can make clip show. It would be the worst clip show ever. Ooh, ooh, oh,
I mean,
uh,
I bet you there's a market for it. It is the internet.
that is true. We'll start a new service. We'll call it Only Us.
Only ooh,
Only
it's kind
ums.
of rolls off the tongue,
It
actually.
does.
You
It
got an
does
idea
indeed.
there, Troy. Uh, yeah, so Hellbreakers was great, and I mean, ah, it really I mean, I have to thank you for it, Troy.
Say what?
I have to thank you
Who,
for making
me?
Hellbreakers a thing.
Oh, how
Yeah.
come?
Well, I don't know. I don't even remember how we started chatting about it, but, we ended up maybe you suggested it or I thought of it, but we wanted to do a review of Beyond the Ring.
Yeah.
And so you sent me a PDF copy, and I grabbed a couple of friends together, people who had played the Expanse RPG with me before, and we flipped through that live on Twitch. It went on YouTube, yada yada. Um, but then you really gassed us up. You were like, "Oh my god, you guys are hilarious! You
But
should."
I loved it. I thought you guys were phenomenal. It was, and it's really easy to gas people up when they're as good as none of that was no lies spoken. But I mean, I think the whole stream is phenomenal,
Thank you.
and the chemistry of the cast is really. I mean, we were just talking about that before we jumped on. It's just that you can see that there's a comfort level there that is just
Yeah.
It's also great to interact with from my vantage point of being able to shares a group of people that have that dynamic of just that give and take, and that sort of not being afraid to learn a thing. And like just the other day that you posted, it was the oh, can I do this? Like you can kind of see the progression of the participant as they start to
Mhm.
crack the code on all of the adventure game engine bits and pieces. But to be able to share that and say, while you won't it won't save you from all of the 2 a.m. Oh, I shoulda, it'll get you close. But yeah, I liked it a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a cool evolution, because it's really only been in the last, like, 2 or 3 months where I've started using TikTok, uh, and it's fun.
Yeah, how's that
I
going? It's different, isn't it?
It's different, but it's really good, and, like,
I think especially in the TTRPG space,
yeah.
that TTRPG TikTok, is that what we're calling it? RPG?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's got TTRPG TikTok, it's got TPRG Talk,
Yeah, yeah.
various hashtags,
Sure, sure.
um, but, like, one of the things that I tried early on with Massive Damage Adventures, I are you familiar with, the loot tables on Instagram? I think it's
No.
Lady Tiefling. I don't know if that's exactly her handle,
Sure.
um, but puts up these like phenomenal loot tables of just you're looting the goblin thief, and there's like a D12 or D10 and just random things. And I was like,
Okay.
that's such wonderful little bite-sized content. Um, and
It's
so I,
brilliant. This is
yeah,
great.
and so I went into Massive Damage Adventures, really trying to play a whole bunch of different games and really trying to introduce a whole bunch of different games to other people. Like that was the idea of the podcast. Like you assume most people come in through D&D, and then maybe they find our podcast and go, wait, Star Wars has an RPG, The Expanse has an RPG,
Yes.
and I want them to play more things and new things. And so what I started doing um, were these adventure hooks where after each episode I'd put out like a little bit of a prompt that kind of ran through like played on what had happened in the adventure. Like
Yeah.
these are the outcomes that the players did, and now you could play your own game here, and here's a hook for you to bring to your own table. And then I had a Patreon, and I called it Roll D4 Adventure. The
Yeah.
Patreon was Skyhammer Press or whatever, but
Yeah.
uh, and on the Patreon, you could get 4 of these adventure hooks instead of just the one. Roll D4.
I got it.
But like very little engagement. Um, and I did it for a long time, and I really had fun writing them up. But when it came time to kind of retire it, I was like, no big loss. And this all loops back around to TikTok, where I can go through our 90-minute Hellbreakers episode and be like, here's a point where the players are talking and it gets loud. So clearly there's laughter.
Yeah, yeah.
And I snip a little 30-second to 50-second clip. And then I do a little light editing so that it focuses on the talk.
I like the way that the transition where it kind of pulls into the nice. full on stealing that from you.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Absolutely.
What are you using to do that? Like, what is the
DaVinci?
Okay, got you. Yeah. So I'm still on the Adobe, Resolve. Of course, as you heard to my great lament before the show started. But yeah, great stuff. That's really it's really great. And so TikTok's embracing kind of what you're doing.
Yeah, like we'll get a couple hundred views like almost immediately on those.
Okay, that's great.
And I'm just like, wow, this is fantastic. This is really good.
RC says, heck yeah, DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll just quickly talk about DaVinci Resolve. So when we did, and there's another actual play, when we did Falcons of Fortune, the Acton Cthulhu one. Just recently, where I was doing a whole bunch of experimental stuff, I wanted to do a really produced short form actual play. And I was like, I need to edit something. And until then, I'd been using Movie Studio.
Is that just like the ware that comes with your computer when you buy it?
Yeah, basically. And I was like, I need to learn one. And I ended up picking DaVinci Resolve. So I learned how to do that for Falcons of Fortune. And now I'm using it to make TikToks.
Nice. Well, listen to this. Temp, who is our resident sort of lore, we'll call him the lore hound, and wants to know this question, which is important. And I think we should inject a little of the Expanse, lore stuff in here, even though we're kind of all over the place in a good way. So which group are you more sympathetic to, Earth, Mars, or the Belt? Hey, Squire, good to see you.
It's an easy question. Beltalora. Anytime, it's always the belt.
I love it. I love a good Belter accent.
I love The Expanse. I've reread the books many, many times. I've watched the show multiple times. I've audiobooked the books. One of my favorite things to do while mowing the lawn is just listen to an Expanse RPG or an Expanse book, right? And so there are things about every polity I like, but I love the belt. I mean, I like Mars because Mars is cool.
Yeah.
And I like Earth because it's complex, but I don't like Earth's politics. I mean, except for Avasarala. God, she's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. The best.
But yeah, always the belt.
Gotcha. Well, so, here's a quick question for you then. We haven't even gotten to scratch the surface of we'll talk about that towards the end, but I want to get sort of what you're working on and other things. I know that you're working for, you're publishing with us, you're publishing with, lots of folks, Modifius, right? Am I right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So we'll get into it towards the end here. But so when it comes to sort of the storyline, how cool is it and how easy has it been for you to run a stream themed the Expanse? And do you feel like, for some reason in my mind, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I feel like the Expanse is uniquely suited to streaming for some reason. And I don't know if it's because of technology or if it's, sometimes when you're watching a fantasy TTRPG stream and you watch it and it's great, but it sort of looks like little windows where you look into and you see sort of, adventure people. But, the Expanse can really be kind of, I don't know, produced to look as though they're talking into a comm, or I don't know. That's just sort of what happens in my mind. What do you think?
Well, I totally agree. And I like my stream overlay and everything is pretty basic. If you look at what John's doing on Abraxas Precipice. His stuff is gorgeous. And really gives you that immersive feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. You can definitely get pulled into those near future sci-fi streams a lot more. You really can feel like those players are the characters being the thing.
Yeah.
Like shout out right now to Patrick, one of the players on our stream. One of the recent episodes had him stuck under a pile of rocks and then pushed into basically quicksand.
Oh,
And he
sure.
spent maybe 30 to 40 minutes of game time taking breaks and then making rolls. And every time he had to get back into the roll, it was, oh God, get me out. And he's like scratching at the sand and like, so yeah, like really, really easy to visualize that sort of expanse setup.
Yeah.
And also on top of that, like when you're playing an RPG and everybody's doing table talk and kind of meta discussing stuff,
Mhm.
uh a modern or futuristic game is really great for that because everybody's got terminals, everybody's got phones, pads, whatever. They're
Right.
actually talking to each other. And so
Right.
that's
Yeah, yeah, it sort
fun
of
that way.
helps that you don't have to make as much of a mental division of in character, out of character, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome too. And so, talk to me about like the progression of, and now, so you are GMing the group of people that you've known for some time, but
Mhm.
I'd imagine that there is a difference between the day they onboarded and started playing and today.
Mhm. So a little bit of background, like obviously Jen and I are married.
Yeah,
So we've been together for a while.
right.
Uh, Jen and Patrick have known each other since elementary school.
Okay.
Um, and Patrick, Jen, and I all went to high school together.
Oh, nice,
Uh,
nice.
and then Katie and Jen went to university together. And then Tyler is Katie's husband. So we all kind of just have gravitated towards each other and played a lot of
Yeah,
games together and played a lot of games with other friends who we always are like, oh, you're going to guest, you're going to come in. And we just, you know, haven't rotated through yet. But
right.
we played, I want to say, the first two missions of Abzu's Bounty
Yeah.
together offline with another buddy. And that was super fun. And like getting to learn the age system, that was kind of Katie and Tyler's first RPG. And
Okay.
then
Nice.
when we needed a little bit of a break from that, we realized Katie and Tyler had actually never played D&D.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was funny. So Age was their first system, and specifically Expanse. Uh, and then, yeah, uh, we played a very short D&D campaign, and then the opportunity to do Hellbreakers came up, and we were like, bam, let's do it. All right, cool. Growth wise over the last year, which yay, success
Yeah.
from the very first episode of Hellbreakers was actually June 13th last
Oh,
year.
wow.
So
Okay.
1 year anniversary.
Nice. Are you kidding
Um,
me? That is
yeah,
awesome. I didn't even realize that. Well, happy anniversary to you and the cast. That's
yeah.
exciting.
Um, and so yeah, like the players have definitely come a lot, like a long distance in their understanding of the system and how
Yeah.
they want to play their characters. Um,
That's the part I love the most, is seeing the comfort with the system, and then they can start to play a little bit, kind of
yeah,
get into the role play aspect. Because when you start with even just a stream, you're like, what do I say? Do I, how can I interject? And, it is a skill unto itself.
yeah, absolutely.
Roya
Uh,
Jesus, happy anniversary to you.
hey, Roya. Roya's been on the podcast many, many times.
Nice.
Uh, Roya and I recently, one of the last ones we ran in season 5 was The Strange by Monty Cook Games.
Oh, yeah.
Just pure wish fulfillment of like a sliders, everything in the
Yes.
kitchen sink kind of game.
Right.
So
Right.
much fun. It The finale had me playing uh like power ballads while Lex Luthor attacked all of them and sent mummies after, like,
As you
it's so good.
do. As you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um train of thought gone.
Gone. Right.
What
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I do have to say in the last couple episodes, uh, Katie has really come into the character of Jerry. Like
Cool.
she started planning all of these epic, like not heists, but like the plans came from Katie, and the players and characters all just went, "Cool, no notes. Let's do it."
It might just work. I
Yeah,
love
and then
it.
of course, the churn was getting so high, and I got to be mean.
I love that. The churn mechanic, it's just brilliant. It is just
Yeah.
and again, another aspect that I think really lends itself well to streaming. It's just such a fun measure, whether you want to keep it kind of under your, kind of close to your vest and not really tell, or if you want to have the audience participate in some way, or it's just really
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what Nate is saying. We'll let him sort that out, and he can. Yeah, I believe he's congratulating Mayhem and Mayhem and Masks and Mayhem. Sorry, RC. But I know it's not Mathmacast. But anyway, but congratulations to whomever for whatever and good work. So as far as looking at um, things that one of the things that I've noticed, and I actually am really, this is primarily the reason why I wanted to kind of sit down and have a chat with you. Um, when you look at the way that TTRPGs are developed, so tabletop games are, and quite well because you're in it and you do it and you developed them and contributed and across multi genres and so um, when you look at the development of those, I, I believe that in my humble opinion, when you look at what happens around a table versus what happens when you're streaming, it's such a different context. It's such
Mhm.
a different like I think that without some thought, you can kind of add some fun stuff and you can sort of, Twitch tries to kind of, there's a kind of a tacked on like I don't know, you emit points or whatever, you excrete these, points in a chest that you can then get an emoji or,
Yeah.
something like that. But I feel like the art form itself has I don't know that we've done a lot of development with that audience factor in mind because it's so different,
Yeah.
and I think not everybody is, like a Critical Role, thespian with all the experience, but also
Mhm.
I think it is, I feel like we lack some mechanisms for engaging. If you can forget about the sometimes chat when you're
Yeah.
up to your eyeballs because it breaks the immersion, all
Mhm.
kinds of stuff. But what are your thoughts on that in general? I know I'm just kind of introducing this new topic, but I'm very curious about what we might be able to do to address that and what kind of
Yeah.
tools that streamers could utilize or would utilize if we made them and or sort of built them
Mhm.
with them. So go ahead.
I think that it before like building tools and taking advantage of that, it also loops back to the idea, like you said, of immersion, but also of playing in these particular settings.
Hmm.
Because when you play in a fantasy game, interacting with the audience definitely can feel like it's breaking your immersion.
Right.
But I don't feel that way when I'm playing The Expanse. So like
Right.
when we were playing our Wheel of Time game and we were running that live, I didn't interact with the chat.
Yeah.
We had a section where we reviewed the latest episode of the Wheel of Time show on Prime, and then we had a section where we gamed, and that was just gaming. Like we didn't talk to chat.
Yeah.
But for The Expanse, like if somebody pops into chat and goes, "Oh, I love these books," we'll take a break right there and be like, "Hey, welcome. How's it going? Of course, we
Nice.
love these books too." Because Hellbreakers is definitely like a casual thing. We're just playing to have fun, and we happen to have the cameras on. It changes it. Like it rewires how you're playing,
Truth. Yeah. Yeah.
because you've got to be on, you've got to be really engaging and like constantly doing stuff while making space and spotlight for other people, as opposed to at a table where if you need a mental break, you can pull out your phone at any kind of safe
That's right. Get
table.
up and walk away or, yeah, yeah. Use the
Yeah,
restroom or whatever. But yeah.
but when we're streaming, it's a lot more structured. That's another reason why I went with the 90-minute format.
Yeah.
Like we start at 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 Pacific. And we have a hard stop at 9:30. We only play for an hour and a half. And there's a break in there. There's intro stuff, there's outro stuff. So it's super casual. We don't
I think that's a great. I mean,
worry.
I
Yeah.
think that 90 minutes is a good span of time. I do think that there's always room for the 3 hour, 4 hour
Yeah.
omega, journey. But I do think that there are, because I find when the longer your streams are, you kind of get waves of people. You get
Yeah.
sort of the early shift and the late shift.
Yeah.
As it were.
And I mean, that's not a market that I want to break into. I don't want to be doing 4-hour streams. I've
Right.
got I've got kids.
Right. Right.
Um, I've
Yeah.
got young kids. I don't want to be doing a 4-hour stream every week. That's too much. And that's and we're gonna come back to other things. I
Yeah. Of
haven't
course. Of
forgotten
course.
your
Yeah. Yeah.
question. But like that's another reason why I wanted to do Falcons of Fortune. I wanted to prove that you could make a fun, engaging 30-minute YouTube actual play where
Yeah.
it's compressed, you get the story, and on top of that, I'm also teaching you how to play with pop-ups. Like I love pop-up video.
Oh,
Um,
did we? I think we talked about this either in text or on the phone, but I do too. I'm a big fan of it. It's brilliant.
it's
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah, it's so good. And because people's attention wanders. And like
absolutely. Roy just said the shorter sessions help keep the energy up for everyone. Trying to
that's true.
maintain, like by the time at the end of a 4 hour session, you're just like, blah, blah, blah. Sorry.
Particularly when you don't have a studio. Like if
Right.
you're not if it's not a job where you go to a place and you are in a studio, if you are sitting in front of your computer, God, 4 hours would be torture. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, it would absolutely be torture, and it would be unless you're just getting paid the big bucks, and that's what you do, and the production
yeah.
value is kind of off the charts and all of that. But
Mhm.
but I think that there is plenty of room for an hour of something, an hour and a half of something,
Yeah.
incorporating engagement with the chat and all of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's I think 90 minutes feels good.
Yeah.
It's accessible.
And so like ideas for things that you could do better for like engaging your players and so on. Like we do giveaways and so on. Like that's bare minimum stuff, right? Like if
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
find sponsors and get some giveaways. Jen and I actually do handmade resin dice. And
Oh
so we have
yeah.
these lovely things
Look at
that
those.
we
Those are
do. Yeah.
nice.
So this is our proto molecule drama die.
I love it. I
Uh,
love it.
but like everybody is doing that.
Yeah.
Uh, but like you said, like there are cool ways to do it and to do it with the development of the system. Like if
Yeah.
if chat was able to reach a certain level of engagement and then increase or decrease the churn, or give the players some extra stunt points or some extra fortune, like those are super cool things. Maybe
I'm thinking of
I
like
don't. Yeah.
in-stream polls and things that help drive
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. I mean, it is challenging because we are sometimes sort of locked into the feature set of the streaming
Yeah.
service and stuff that we're using, but that's an idea that keeps coming back to me, and I'm thinking about how that could be incorporated.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of the polls and so on. And I mean, I think again, John from Abraxas Precipice does a great job with his Patreon, where he's getting his community involved with the colony roles for their stream.
That's
Like
awesome.
that's a really good way to get people invested in your story and have them
Yes.
have a say. Like fantastic. If you could have you know, pop-up polls or, here's the link to our Google form where
Yeah.
you can fill out a thing that you want to happen, like and so on. Like that would be really cool.
It would be. I'm trying to think too of ideas that can sustain or be sort of pulled, through multiple episodes. Whether that's
Mhm.
some kind of like one of the things I'm thinking of for instance, Mutants Masterminds Monday stream is I want to do something where we've got like so we've always played around with the fact that our folks will bring something up. It's silly. It's the dumb thing. It's gravy squatch. It's all that goofy fun stuff that we do, and then that we have an actual bingo card that over time gets sort of and once you get a bingo on that you spin a wheel or something, and
Oh, cool.
somebody on stream has to do a thing, write a thing, provide a thing. We're
That's
trying to,
fun, yeah.
we don't want it to be hazing, but we want it to be sort of like create a stat block or create a villain or, just that kind of fun stuff. But aside from that, I wonder
I
if,
do have a thing.
oh yeah, go for it.
Mhm.
You have a thing?
Yeah, one other thing that we actually do with Hellbreakers is our bounties. So
Oh,
like the premise that I wanted to go into this campaign with was Cowboy Bebop meets Killjoys set in the
hmm.
Expanse. Like they're bounty hunters, but they go on hijinks. There's a silliness to it, and then it also just happens to be in the Expanse universe. And so we constantly have these rotating bounties coming through, and I make a little thing. They're up on the website, and they have a dollar amount attached to them. And we've always said that if somebody cheers us bits, which supports the stream, then they get to choose a bounty that they would like to increase. And then
Smart. I like
that,
this.
yeah, that ideally would like make a bounty more interesting to the players, so the audience can kind of vote on which way the story goes. It's only happened once. Somebody cheered us bits one time, and it was fantastic, and we threw a little party. But then on top of it, we also did a Roll versus Evil. The
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So the charity arm of Modifius, we've got a link for that, and if you donate through that, and everything goes to that, none of it goes to us, then you can apply double the amount um, to the bounty,
I
basically.
dig that quite a bit. I'm going to make sure to do this real fast. Let's get a link in there's the website, folks. So if you're watching this on demand, and if you don't see the chat right away, it's because it takes a minute for YouTube to do the thing. But where would folks find the bounty stuff? Is it on that page or is it?
Yeah, if you go to skyhammerpress.com, and then you up in the top right, there's our shows list, and you go to
Yeah,
Hellbreakers. It's
yeah.
about halfway down the page. It's got the live bounties. I've actually got to update it now because they've just taken one out as of Monday.
This is so clever. I'm going to actually do a screen share of it just to kind of give
Oh yeah,
people a peek. That is really
please.
great. Yeah, well, so this is really clever, and so was the purpose of that sort of piece to just kind of find another dimension of engaging with folks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was an idea really early on where it was like, we're gonna have bounties. Like, let's get the audience talking about which bounties they want us to hit up. Yeah, there's the
Right.
crew. Beautiful art by our friend honeybell.art on
Ah,
Instagram.
nice.
She also did this one back here of me.
I barely see it.
Yeah, it's great.
But by the way, the website's great too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's really great, and so
That's my day job.
now, oh, I see. Let me. It is your day job, isn't it? Well,
Yeah, it
it's kind
is.
of
I
a little
maintain a
bit of a
website.
ringer here. All right, so these are the characters that you that have bounties, and
Oh, these are the
oh, this
characters
is the crew.
from
This is
that's
actually
the
the
crew.
crew.
Yeah, if you
Doy.
scroll down a little bit further, we got, our review. Hey, our cool code. Here's our bounties.
That is cool. This is really smart. Okay, and so then to own the bounty or to turn it in.
The players are going to do things, but yeah, you click on this. Rumors are starting to pile up about this man who walks the wilds in Agia. Um,
Cool.
but uh, yeah,
This is
so
great.
if somebody during the stream cheers some bits or donates to Roll versus Evil, we get a notification and we say, "What active bounty do you want us to increase?" And I think it's like 100 bits gets you 1,000 UN dollars, and then here you go for every dollar. Oh, that's what it was. 100 bits gets you 5 grand UN dollars, and then every dollar gets you 10,000. So
Nice.
your dollar to us gives 5,000 to the bounty. Your dollar to Roll versus Evil, an incredibly good charity, gets you
Yeah.
10,000 UN dollars.
That is such a smart and fun setup. And then Roya says, "Shame on me for not checking the website more often." Dang,
Oh,
Meric, this
thank
is
you.
beautiful. It really is. It's really well done.
Thank you.
Right, there's your trailer and all that good stuff.
Yep.
So, so in the context of, I could be clicking on this all day. Hold on, let me get back into the mode here. When it comes to things like tools that can be developed by, how do you think the development would incorporate the audience for TTRPGs, for tabletop game development in general, and what potential tools could be created that would support that kind of engagement, and with an eye towards maintaining immersion?
Hmm. It's I started going down this kind of like train of thought of how that looks when it's written into a rule book, and I don't think it works
Yeah,
because
yeah,
the target audience of streamers is so small that it doesn't make sense to put it into a book where page count is a premium, right? So
yeah,
like
yeah.
it has to be something that's developed after the fact. It's like a digital
That's what I'm
tool.
thinking. Sure,
Yeah,
sure,
and then at that point it's on each company to figure out what the best way to integrate their game is.
sure, sure. No, I
Like
agree with you. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and there are definitely ways to do it really really well because most games have those kind of uh, spendable resources
Hmm.
that players crave.
Yeah,
uh, it's got what players crave.
that's right.
um, and those are the sorts of things that I think audiences can give. But then, yeah, when you go that level deeper and you start getting people involved in the story of the game,
Sure, the
in the
meta of it, even.
outcomes,
Yeah.
yeah, like that's really cool. Could you imagine like, Critical Role has all of their incredible lore and so on, but there's polls going in the background where they're like, we want you to pull back this villain, and then, Mercer and writing crews need to be like, "Oh, how do we get that person back into this thing?"
Right.
On that scale, it's incredibly hard to do. But for most streamers, when they've got, 50 live audience members, if they're a really successful show, that's doable
It
and
is.
that's
It is
fun.
doable. Yeah, and I think too that for actual plays, there could be at least the conscious effort to be mindful of the audience. You know what I mean? Like, in
Mhm.
to put those mechanisms in, or at least ruminate on it. I think that that even influences the way that you tell a story through tabletop, actual plays. And I also think that, much like, I went and checked out Lady Tiefling's stuff, which is phenomenal. It's really
Yeah,
great.
really well done.
Very, very well done. Lady Tiefling also has a Patreon
Mhm.
that folks will want to check out.
I'm a huge fan of supporting creators on Patreon. Do that. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great that you were on Patreon, because you know that I run I'm a co-captain of a group that is TTRPG creators that have Patreon, and so
Hmm.
it's sort of they call it an accountability club. We've got about 70 people that kind of come in and out. The great people, accomplished creators, but it's or I'll say accomplished creators, people who have made that leap. They've created things and they want to then sort of live the Patreon lifestyle. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just for TTRPG creators, so it's a lot of fun. But it is, we've as people in the TTRPG space have run up against some really weird issues this year, just in general, sort of like, sort of the D&D stuff and their
The
continued kind of,
discourse.
yeah, the discourse, discord in
Yeah.
Discord. Um,
And Twitter doesn't help. Twitter has
oh,
it's really taken a nosedive quickly.
it doesn't want to
So
help. Yeah, Twitter doesn't want to help for sure. Um, so have you played? You see, Temp is on it. Temp is like, I want to know more about lore and your thoughts on lore. Because have you played Lazarus?
I haven't. I don't know
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lazarus.
No, they're quite different, uh, for sure. But so I'm curious as
I'll
well.
write it
So
down.
in light of the rancor and some of the, I feel like the people who are GMing on TTRPG streams are de facto kind of spokespeople
Yeah.
for
We're
they
ambassadors for stuff. Absolutely.
exactly. Well, and most certainly for product and most certainly for streaming and that kind of like, if you get a sponsor and those sorts of things. But even more so than that, I think they are the ones that are setting the tone for the tone. Like
Mm,
they're literally sort of, is this an experience where people feel that they can be a part of it and be engaged?
that's true. Yeah.
Or is it a gatekeepy feel, or is it? I mean, and I've seen many different streamers. Your stream is very. I mean, I think too, it's because you come at it like a teacher. You do. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
you're really good at that piece of that. Sort of. I don't want to say like a teacher. It is, you are engaging. It is welcoming, and you can be brand new.
Yeah. I mean, I love that sort of aspect of gaming. I love introducing people to new things. I love teaching in a way that they are going to enjoy. And I mean, like in my life, I have been a camp counselor.
Yeah.
I've been a game store owner. Um, and this morning, shout out to Jack, I was doing voice and writing training for a graduate student in London.
Oh wow.
Um, and it was great. I was actually wearing a Critical Role t-shirt, and he was like, "Hey, are those D20s?" I'm like, "Yeah, do you play?" He said, "Yeah, I started playing D&D in August." I'm like, "Cool, man." And we had a whole bunch to get into about it, and I shared him to the website and told him to check this out. He's busy, but
Yeah.
and so that's something that I love and enjoy, and I think that um, getting people to just be aware of all of the variety of games and companies out there
Yeah.
is fantastic. And like going back to the discourse in January, February, my home game group like started shouting no D&D 2023.
Mm,
Um and we didn't stick to that. We are still playing a D&D game
yeah.
offline. We're having fun with it. Um but for streaming and producing all this stuff, I I don't really have any interest in running D&D right now. I'm loving the age system. I'm loving the Expanse. Um, the Acton Cthulhu actual play we did, so much fun. And I hope other people see these and be like, I could have fun doing that. Let's give
Yeah.
it a try. And like uh we just did a review of Everyday Heroes by Evil Genius Games.
I was watching that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which it's a D20 system. Like it uses the 5e mechanics
Yeah.
and it's so much fun. It's a great
Yeah,
game.
yeah. I mean, it's great. And real quick, Roya, here to testify. America alone has introduced you to more systems than I've seen in my whole 20 plus years of tabletop role play games. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
That's phenomenal.
This screen back here actually hides the stack of books. It's about this tall.
Right. Yeah.
I've got bookshelves over there. I got a bookshelf here. I got a bookshelf here, and I got a stack of books on the floor, which are like these are the ones I want to read.
We have runners that have made like a desk out of books and it looks like a nightstand, but it's a stack of books. I love that part. I do love that about our industry. I think that there's just something about that, Jonata says Sasuke Beltalowda.
Sasake.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
do I can't
Sasake.
do the Belter accent. I
Mm,
could try, but it would just be
it's a good
miserable for
accent.
all involved. Um, okay, well, so here's the deal. I think that one of the things I appreciate about you is that you aren't afraid to innovate and sort of look at something and how can we sort of add to it and amplify the right stuff, the good stuff, the stuff that people will really understand and embrace. Let's talk about the real good stuff. What are you working on? What's going on in your world?
What am I
What's
working on?
Yeah, yeah.
I got permission from
Oh,
our good friend Ian
oh.
to say that I am working on a new Trades of the Expanse PDF.
Hey, hey, listen to that. Okay, that's
So
awesome. Go on.
that's going to be really cool. It's not coming out for a while yet. It'll actually come out after the Soul System book. Um, and so that's really fun. That's really cool. I can't say specifically what it is because there are, people ahead of me who are going to be publishing theirs first.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really pumped for it. It's going to be super cool, and that's a great project to work on. Uh, One of the first freelance things I did in TTRPG uh, for actual pay was an adventure for the Expanse that still hasn't come out
It's coming though, right? Yeah.
because
Is it?
it's in the book after Soul System.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it is still waiting in line.
yeah. But I have done a fair number of things in the Acton Cthulhu world with Modifius Entertainment. So I've done two of their sort of larger PDF operation adventures.
Yeah,
I did a convention length adventure, so something like super, super short. I did a Halloween sort of location that was really puzzle based. That one was a lot of fun to work on.
fun.
And then the big adventure that just came out, The Serpent and the Sands, I got to contribute a whole bunch of the character like options to it. Um, and that I found out was kind of a test because as soon as I had turned that in and the editor liked it, he asked if I'd like to do a book to myself, a short one, little saddle stitched. He said it was 50 pages when it started. It's for pre-order now as of last week. It's called Vive la Resistance, and it's
Right on.
yeah, and it's 80 pages. Um, it's going to be printed by the end of the summer. It's for pre-order on Modifius, and it is adding options to play as resistance fighters in World War II occupied countries, fighting back against the Nazis while the Nazis also have horrible Lovecraftian magic.
That is terrifying and amazing. And I've got the
Yeah.
link. I'm dropping it in chat so folks can head on over and check that out. How friggin' exciting.
Yeah, it's super cool. It was a great opportunity. It was a huge crunch because he gave me the assignment in February, mid February, and said 25,000 words. Can you get it to me by April 1st? I'm like 6 weeks. Okay.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But did it, delivered it, and really proud of it. Really, really cool stuff.
And so it's ready for pre-order. Is it so it's in the process now? You're done. It's getting printed, or what's
Yeah,
the
it's
yeah.
done. If you pre-order it right now, you get the PDF immediately from their website.
Cool. Yeah.
And
Okay. Great.
and so people, yeah, have seen it. I'm actually doing an AMA on Modifius's Discord on Tuesday coming up about it with John, the lead editor of the line. So that'll be super fun. That's at 8 a.m. Pacific.
Nice.
Yeah, here we go. So this was
The art. I just love
oh,
the decision. That's just really clever. I dig that.
it's super pulpy. You should show the cover. It's gorgeous.
Oh, I love
But
it. Oh my gosh. That is definitely pulpy
yeah,
stuff. Like
it's
this is the cover that I love, stuff that I would see like in my grandfather's reading library, like this sort of.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
dig it.
so this was like, honestly, I love horror and I love like Lovecraftian stories and so on.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge like World War II or any kind of war fan.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't peg you as. Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah. That's not something I would
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
it's not really my thing. But when you mix in pulp action Cthulhu, Indiana Jones stuff, I'm on board. And then the pitch for this book was let the players play as characters who have seen their countries be taken over by fascism. And what do they do about that? And I'm like, frick, topical.
Yeah, that is so interesting, and what an interesting way to kind of bring that to the fore without. Roya does have a good question, and I'm curious as well. When do you sleep?
I sleep. Yeah.
Kids publishing actual play. You're always engaged in stuff sort of just as an extension of your streaming. We've worked with you several times, just to, you've been on Thursday. You've been on ThursdAGE before, haven't you?
I haven't been on ThursdAGE, but
Okay, this is your first time on the main stage.
I got to hang out when the 5th season kicks
That was
Backer Kit
great.
was
Yeah,
ending. That was
you
so fun.
you did some streaming with us too when we did, like, the community event and all that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. That was a lot of fun. That was great.
Yeah, so, so the question, I guess, stands, you just don't sleep.
I d no. Sleep? Sleep. I'll get that. I'll
Right,
get to that at some point. No, I
right.
actually, my day job is fantastic. It's really flexible, um, in that, like, my boss lives on the East Coast, and for the last half a year, I've been mostly working with people in New Zealand.
Yeah,
So, I start my day super early, I get done work really early, uh, take some downtime, cook dinner, hang out with the kids, and then
right.
do some gaming or do some writing in the evenings,
That's the
and
life, my friend. That is the
yeah.
life. Now, have you heard my New Zealand accent?
No,
It's
please.
terrible. Do not ask me to do it because I will.
Yeah.
Usually, we have one of our Aussies stop by, and they always beg me to stop. So, till I see them, I will wait. I will preserve my voice. So, in the remaining minutes, so as someone who has successfully kicked off and maintained and happy anniversary of your stream,
Woo!
um, give some folks some advice on, it could be anything, dealing with developers, coordinating with your cast, like give some words of wisdom to folks who might be considering their own live stream endeavor.
Yeah, it's the same advice that I would give for writing, it's just do it. Um, like, if you're interested, if you wanna do it, all you have to do is start doing it, and the complexity of setting up OBS, of getting a Twitch account, of doing all of these things, all of it is readily available to learn on YouTube.
It really
Which is
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is basically how I've done it. Like, if I'm learning OBS and something's not working, just go to YouTube and be like, "How do I do this?" There's a
You're going to find it.
5-minute video, it's right there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, working with developers in the TTRPG industry, for the most part, is incredibly easy because most of them are just really kind people who
Yeah.
want people to play games. And so,
And they're of the community, people in the craft
yeah,
are, they're players, they're gamers.
yeah, and so, like, if you just, um, start doing stuff, people are gonna come and hang out, and then you're gonna chat with them, and you build those friendships and those connections. I mean, they're not real friendships. Don't fall into those troubles. It's all still business. Um, but,
I
like,
I do think that there are relationships that are made that are and bonds that are
yeah,
authentic,
it's true.
but yeah, I think that you bring up something really important, and that is that there is a moment where, and some folks fall into this just because they love what they're doing and they get real excited,
Mhm.
and then they find, it's just it doesn't scale. You can't
Yeah,
you can't have 3 million BFFs, and you got to kind of have a little bit of an economy of efforts, and sometimes too, I think that I find that tabletop folks are people who are engaged in telling stories and being GMs. They're very busy and they want to get to their stuff, and everybody's
yeah,
busy,
that's
and
true.
so I mean, I feel like it's easier than say like video games where people
Hmm.
they really want in on what's happening and they get a little close sometimes. And
Yeah.
it's always a bummer to kind of have that sort of decoupling conversation.
Mhm.
But yeah, so very interesting. And any
Yeah.
other thoughts on and
Oh,
advice for folks?
well, I'll tell a quick story.
Yeah.
And this is like advice for developers who want to grow the communities around their
I like that.
games. Check out the hashtags and check out the live streams.
Mhm.
Our very first episode of Shadows and Starlight, where we were running Star Trek, Jim Johnson, who is the lead developer of Star Trek over at Modifius, popped into the chat
Love that.
and
Yeah.
just said, "Hey, and how's it going?" And then after the stream, I just messaged him directly on Twitter and said, "Wow, thank you so much for coming by. Like, we really appreciated it. The cast had so much fun." And he's like, "Yeah, I just love supporting the community." I'm like, "That's great. Would you like to come on my podcast sometime?" And then we had a great chat on the
Yeah.
podcast, and it's just being that open to building community up around your game it makes a huge difference. And like Troy, you did that for us with the Expanse. Like when we did our review, like you were in there in the chat having fun, and that
Yeah.
makes us want to do more, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, and and I think you bring up a good point as well when developers, if a developer does pop by, it is an invitation to engage in a, in that way. And I think that they'll tell you if they can't do a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like
Absolutely
you
they'll tell
said,
you.
they're busy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the chaos actually, it's really the sort of riding the wave of chaos and all the stuff that happened and events and all of that stuff. But I think oh yeah, RC says Jim's active in the Star Trek Adventures subreddit. The
Jim loves Star Trek. Like
That's
he
awesome.
loves it. So
Well, and that's the other thing too, when people are when those developers pop by, it's because they love what they're doing and they want to see what you're up to. And I don't know. I would say 99.99999% of the time. And I only say that because I'm certain there's been a bad engagement somewhere in some developer coming by a stream and being, I've never seen that, witnessed it or heard of it, heard tell, and not really super interested in hearing about it. But only to say that
positivity,
they,
positivity.
and also not my problem. I mean,
Oh
our
yeah.
developers love the community, and you've got Malcolm who will sit and talk your ear off for a day. I mean, you talked about Ian. I mean, like we're really a very engaging group of people. They're not afraid to sort of sit down and play the game with you and engage with you, and and all that good stuff. And I like I said, I presume that other folks are. It's good to hear that Modifius is that same way, that have some
Mhm.
aspects of that, or at least some freedom to make those kinds of
Yeah.
connections,
Yeah, and I
because it
mean,
matters. Yeah.
just like name dropping some other like really great companies to work with, I've done some really good stuff with Artelsorian Games. Like
Oh
they are
yes,
so
yes,
invested in their community. It's fantastic. And of course,
yeah.
Monty Cook Games.
Oh yes,
Like
you're right, right.
they have done so much stuff, and I've had a great time working with them. And yeah, like it's I started releasing the podcast in 2018 or something, and it was such a fun adventure.
Well, listen, and I think part of this, the bigger piece here is that it's a testament to who you are as a person in the space and the contributions that you make creatively and just in general to the, like I said, coming to you and be able to kind of bounce some ideas off and talk about how the hell are we going to do shorts in this world and all of the other, that stuff. But I truly appreciate it. I also appreciate that you've been able to take some time today and hang out. Love that. And we'll be talking some more because you got some Expanse stuff coming.
Yeah.
Trades of the Expanse Librarian or something. What was it?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
That's
Librarians, do not quote us on that. Ian will
Space
come and kill me.
Librarian.
uh, yeah,
uh,
no, there's the adventure that is coming out in the Book After Soul system, and then
that's
the
right.
Trades of the Expanse one, which should be coming up probably before that. And
And
then
I'm gonna rope you into a thing or two. Like we're
oh,
gonna,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Please. And I'm angling for other things. I'm chatting with people at
Heck yeah,
Green
you
Ronin.
are, and as well you should be. But that all things being equal, we will find you on. We shared your website, your Skyhammer Press on the Twitters.
Mm. Twitter is the only one. Like, I gotta fix up my branding. Hey, uh, Twitter is Skyhammer K.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I
Okay,
made it a million years ago. Um, Skyhammer Press on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok,
nice.
and
Okay,
and
great.
also the website. And then Twitch is Massive Damage Adventures because it's the show for the one shots.
That's right. Phenomenal. We'll also make sure to update our show notes with all of those details. Meric, thank you for joining us today. This has been a great conversation, exceeded expectations. But yeah,
Troy,
phenomenal work.
you and I could sit here and talk for hours.
We honestly really could. I was like, how did it become three all of a sudden? I've got more to talk about, but we'll save
Yeah.
that for other conversations. But in the meantime, thank you for all you do to kind of support us. Truly appreciate it. And keep on keeping on.
Thank you. You do the same. Like,
I will.
God, Troy, you make this community shine.
Well, geez, that's a bit much, but I
You
do want to
do.
say this. Roya says, we'll end on this. 100% Merrick is an amazing human and a DM. I remember how nervous I was the first time and improved and learned from him and other players at his table in each game. Absolutely awesome.
Thank you, Roya. Very kind.
All right, friends, have a great rest of your week. We'll be back with Meets and Masterminds Monday on Monday. It's going to be a good one. You want to stop by. And we will talk to you all later. Goodbye.